Hello, and today I'm going to be discussing about evidence-based practice. Evidence-based practice is research being done on ways to basically improve students' performance. In order to do that, there is studies that are involved in order to see if it will be considered an evidence-based practice, if there's enough research and data involved enough to say that this would be an improvement to use in the classroom. What I read today was basically a study that was having four participants who were boys who either had autism or an intellectual disability. And what I found was very interesting was that the main goal and purpose was to use technology to see if it might be considered a good evidence-based practice to use in the classroom. So, to take a look at first is what is autism? Well, autism is a communication social disorder, but also deals with behavior. And it varies between every single individual. There's more likely of chance that it affects boys, but there are girls who also have the autistic spectrum disorder as well. And what it means by spectrum disorder, it means that it will vary between each and every single child, and it's quite amazing how the statistics are actually about about 68 children may be diagnosed with autism, and it's just increasing every single year. So dealing with that and also having a child with an intellectual disability might have some setbacks or delays in terms of understanding the material and how to come across using manipulatives and other methods in order to teach new skills to a child. And so 3 out of the 4 boys had autism, while 1 had an intellectual disability. They had very similar IQs, and it was very similar in age, between ages 13 and 15. And what I found very interesting was they were using iPads to video self-monitor, and what that means is that they are performing a task that they need to do, and for which this case they were working on story problems dealing with money. And the video self-monitoring is a video of them solving the problem themselves, and then the student will watch the video and see if they will learn from watching themselves do it and become better and more sufficient at the problem. So what they had was 5 story problems that dealt with estimating how much an object would cost, being able to pay the right amount for the object, estimating of how much change they will get back, and then actually getting the right change back and doing it all on themselves. Now, on the iPad, there was a cash register with money actually in it and specific amounts of money in it to see at which types of forms of money they would get, whether it be bills up to $20 or would it be coins, such as using pennies, nickels, dimes, and quarters. So the students first had to learn, before with the intervention, make sure they knew what each piece of money would cost and what it looked like, and it took some time, and they had to do this twice daily for 4 days out of the week for 3 weeks for using this video self-monitoring. At the end result, what I found really interesting was that the baseline data, which was like the beginning results, were between very low of 13 to, I believe, 25%. After doing the post-intervention data, the averages range from between 59% at the lowest to about, I believe, around 85 or 89%. So it averaged about 70% for having using the correct steps to solve the story problems, which is a very high increase in terms of if they understood the problems and using this VSM method. So it doesn't necessarily say that it would be a good, accurate, evidence-based practice due to only doing one study, and there was some problems along the line of that there was too many similar problems that they had to use, because they had to have the price range to be very specific and similar, because they can only be within 50 cents off for when they had to guess or estimate the amount. So it became a little bit of an issue in terms of accuracy, but the results still seemed to question whether or not using the iPad and using this video self-monitoring method, if it can be used in the classroom. In my opinion, I believe that if there was more evidence and more research on it, I think that using the iPad and using technology in general is a great way for students to not only interact, but to also use manipulatives in another form, and to keep the student focused, and especially with students with autism or even with an intellectual disability, behaviors can become an issue, and where the technology might need to meet their needs in that aspect. Using the iPad can help the student remain focused, keeps them stimulated, and uses their sensory to help them communicate also. If they have questions or if they need assistance, technology can most likely help them, besides always having the teacher do it, but have them do it themselves. And that's the one thing I really did like about this article, was that it was all about the student's choice. The student had to be the one was learning from themselves. They were doing a sort of observational learning, which was quoted in the article, that they were basically taking charge of their own learning, and while also learning from the teachers that were involved, of knowing what a penny was, what a nickel was, etc. They still had to use the iPad themselves, how to use the objects for the register, and be able to solve the story problems. So it definitely improved on their scores, and it could definitely improve on other fundamental math skills as well, not only with using money, but maybe if it dealt with measurement, or if it if it dealt with word problems, as you were using step-by-step problems on the iPad, maybe using more manipulatives on the iPad to help them, instead of just always using pencil and paper, just to keep them interacted and doing more problems along the line of using technology. So in conclusion, I believe that this article showed evidence that it could be used in the classroom, but of course there are still a lot of questions in terms to if it would be, if it is going to be used correctly in terms of video self-monitoring, or if it's enough. But I do see progress in it, and I do see some great results already from just reading this article. So video self-monitoring could be a great aspect to use with the iPad, and maybe even on the computer.